All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you're having a good one and that you are ready for Ori and the Will of the Wisps main tournament 2023. We are just starting the bracket phase, and today we have a match between Mawe and Dalory. I am one of your commentators, Turtle, and I will be joined today by Tukil. Tukil, how are you doing?
I am very excited for this match. We had an exciting match earlier today or yesterday, depending on your time zone. And I'm looking forward to this one as well because it's gonna be a good one if you look at the times.
Oh, absolutely. Mawe and Dalory are Mawe is our 7th seed and Dalory is our 10th. And their times were relatively close to each other in the prelims. I don't think they ever raced against each other, but they're within a couple minutes. So this could absolutely swing either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a few things to note before we get going, which will be happening soon. There will be route divergence, so in the middle of the run, it won't be quite clear who's in the lead, as well as a huge timer difference will probably be happening because Mawe will be playing with RTA strats, so his real time will be optimized, whereas Dalory is optimizing in-game time, which leads to quite a bit of timer difference. So if you think someone is ahead, look at the timer and it might turn out differently. But with that, our two runners are gonna get going soon. What are you looking forward to in this race, Toto?
Ooh, so before the run, we asked both of our runners what their favorite part of the run was, and both of them said the very end game and the fight with Shriek. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Just getting through all of the preambles so we can finally get fully prepared to bash a bird's face in.
Yeah, absolutely. The goal of speedrunning, finishing a game as fast as possible so you don't have to play much of it. So we're gonna get into the game. No one cares about the lore. Prequel is not important. We might have a bit of a timer issue here. Let's see if we can get that resolved. But with that, our two runners are good to go.
Yep. We do also have the race time room, but that is RTA time, which is actually not what counts for the tournament. So that'll give us an indication of it, even with Dalory's timer being a little bit of a malfunction right now. But it won't be the true time. And again, we are seeing RTA strats versus in-game time strats. So there could be a lot of difference just because of long pauses on one stream versus not on another.
Yeah, absolutely. For now, we see a bit of torch movement, our first weapon, and we need to get to 2 keystones to be able to progress the game. And we use the torch to be able to get there a bit faster. We skip a fighting room, and of course, we're also getting some spirit light on the way for our first purchase in the game.
We can already see some torch movement. You don't get to see this throughout the rest of the game, but Dalory is going for torch hover, gets it really, really well second try. Just by spamming upswing, you just kind of float in the air, and then another one right there gets around that ledge and hovers back towards it, and wall jumps up to grab that keystone super fast. Mawe is doing the same thing on their side, also gets it really, really quickly. Looks like it's going to be killing the slime and grabbing the spirit light first, but they're both going to be doing that just so they can grab enough spirit light for an early purchase later on.
Just quickly checking in here, if you see Mawe stopping, it is because we are currently debating restarting because since this game is running on in-game timer, we can't just estimate the time Dalory takes to finish his run off of his real time. So we will be trying to reach him and hopefully get going again. Hopefully he'll see because yeah, this is not quite fair to any of the runners.
Yeah.
Actually.
In the meantime, runners are at least getting some good practice in. Dalory doing a quick extinguishing of the torch there, and Mawe is practicing that actually way more difficult than they're making it look. That little cliff jump right there. It's not as easy, again, as they're making it look. I can tell from first-hand experience, having just learned it about a month back, and jealous of how well these two are doing at it. Meanwhile, we are going to maybe see a sneak preview of the Howl fight. Howl takes, I believe, 14 hits to defeat. So runners, the fastest way to do that damage is to just get in the air and spam upswing. Upswing with the torch is just the best torch tech, period. And yeah, Dalory does get a pretty good fight. Even though it won't count.
We need to hopefully heal C in time. It's just very unfortunate. We had a bit of tech issues before, and unfortunately, we can't seem to reach him. So, if any of you in chat happens to have a way to contact him, please do so.
Wouldn't be a tournament without tech issues.
What are we supposed to do? Like, if he looks at the chat in like an hour after finishing the run and sees that it's invalid, that is not a good time either.
Yeah, no kidding. But I can definitely understand why Dalory wouldn't want to look at any chats or streams. If you're in the middle of a competitive race, you don't want any distractions. Unfortunately, in this case, the distraction would be very, very helpful to help stop him from progressing too far in without his timer on.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate also just because of the nature of this run, because it is because this game is so heavily load dependent. It's just not fair to run real time, so at least we get to see some nice gameplay from him.
Yep, and it's a great warm-up. As again we mentioned, we had some tech issues before the race too, so maybe didn't get as much warming up, possibly, and this will help make up for that if warming up is something that anyone needed to do.
He seems to have paused, so maybe he's realizing. Hopefully we'll get going. Okay, yeah.
Hooray! Ooh. We have made contact.
So for anyone also in the tournament, that is why you have at least race time or the Discord open, so we can contact you in case anything is going wrong.
And luckily we did only manage to get Dalory after a few minutes, so we didn't have to wait the entire run, which could be upwards of an hour.
Yes. We're trying to get him into everything. Yeah, this is just live split can be a bit finicky. Everything. Streaming aside, getting restreamed aside, it's good to get this out of the way now and before like we get to, I don't know, semifinals or finals, because yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that it's happening now, but at least it's out of the way.
Yep. And of course, as we did see both runners, even in the few minutes that we saw, even though it was just very early game movement, both had some great torch hovers, both had some great wall jump movement. I don't know what that trick is called. Sorry, if you know. To kill.
You mean the torch hovers or?
The one after the torch hover with the keystone.
Yeah, that's the keystone jump.
Okay, keystone. That's such a simple name. How do I not remember that?
I mean, yeah. We can play Ori, Guesser. Turtle, where is this? I took the picture, so I mean, I know where this is.
Dude, I don't know. This is definitely Will-o-the-Wisp, but I don't know Will-o-the-Wisp as well as I know Blind Forest. It's definitely the marsh. It's definitely the marsh.
It is indeed in marsh.
But I don't know where exactly.
That is, yeah. It is. I'm not gonna spoiler it for anyone, so.
Oh, not even for me? Your co-host?
Okay, if anyone who wants to figure it out for themselves, that was before Ancestral Light in Marsh. Where you need to do the puzzle, the Bash puzzle, to get in. Okay, Turtle, but you know which biome this is as well, right?
Absolutely. Weeping Ridge, right? Clearly.
Not quite, not quite.
Oh, man. But it's so purple.
Yeah, it is purple
Oh,
indeed.
of course, the other purple area, Gorlek Mines.
Oh, imagine though.
If you could get a screenshot of that and just put it in the Ori Guesser, perfect, perfection, do it.
I mean, we were okay. Actually, since we are on the topic, we want to open up Ori Guesser for submissions. We're not sure
Ooh.
about the specifics yet, but if you have cool screenshots, they can be from any part of the game. They can be from cutscenes. They can be from gameplay. They can be from any kind of part of the game. So if you want to feature that, just send it to me or Apple. I think we too said it's fine to DM us. We will figure out maybe something like a thread or something where people can send us photos. But if you want to have a cool screenshot featured, do it. And please don't spoiler it for anyone if you do it, so everyone can have a fun time.
My best guess would be to submit something from the prologue. 0 speedrunners will have ever seen it.
I mean, to be fair, with Prologue, you also have the confusion about Blind Forest versus Will of the Wisp.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it is the same.
It's Nibel. Nibel? Nibel.
Nibel.
Nebel.
Yes. Nebel. Nebel and Neven. Okay, so we're getting tech issues figured out.
Mm-hmm.
It's all behind the scenes, trying to get it solved. Hopefully, the timer will get running soon. Tech issues. It's sad when they happen, but they do happen.
Oh yeah. And by this point, we do have our a race time room already set up. The name of that race time room is Charming Sire or Charming Seer. Why does everything have to be so hard to pronounce?
Yeah, I don't know. They just wanted to make it painful.
I do love how. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. To the perfect, to the good know-how that every speedrunner has heard at some point, and it's always funny to everyone who hears it for the first time. So, originally, Ori was named Sign, and Sign was named Ori. Hence why in all the debug stuff, the names are switched.
That would make Ori 1's speedrun of Signless Bashless Stompless a lot more interesting, I think.
Imagine. Just no sign, aka Ori on the screen.
You just have to play the little floating Ori, which is Sign, the orb that only has the basic Spirit Flame and Charge Flame.
But it seems like we have our issues figured out, tech issues. So we should be getting back into the action soon. And we saw Mawe struggling with the aforementioned Keystone Jump, so maybe this time around it will be a bit easier.
But they definitely did get some extra practice in while we were waiting for Dalory to pause, so...
Yeah, but tech issues can happen. No worries about that, as both runners are getting ready again, and we will soon be heading into the race.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Oh, all right. We have our 15-second countdown again in race time, at least.
So we are gonna see the same thing, skipping prologue because no one needs the lore, especially not Dalory. I'm sorry.
That was great. That was perfect.
And hopefully the timer will start this time.
Hey!
Nice. Okay, perfect. And
all right.
Go ahead.
We are live. And so you can see now both timers are stopped anytime that our runners are in loading screens. And that's why we really needed those timers up, because the run is timed by removing loading screens. So anytime that would be happening, the timer's paused, and therefore the runner is technically in real-world time, but they're not losing any in-game time. So we've got past that, and timers are both running with the loads removed. Perfect.
Yes. So same spiel as last time. We're getting the Spirit Light. We're gonna pick up Torch here to be able to use it as a weapon as well as a movement option, because we can hover with it in the air, and that allows us to basically contain more height while going to the side. And wow, runner is so far synced. Of course, this is just the start of a roughly 1 hour and 10 minutes run in real time, so we'll have to see how it goes for both of them. Mawe deciding to pick the Spirit Light up this way around. Dalory will take the other way around and gets this float very nicely. Let's see if Mawe can do the same.
There's one and there's two runners. Yep, first try both times. That trick looks so fun. It is so fun too. And seeing both runners just nail it is great. That's the first real trick of the run too. So if you get past that, it's all downhill from there once you start having to fight bosses and doing all the other tricks. But past the first hurdle.
Yeah, that is fairly true. And Mawe also having less issues with the keystone jump now, so both runners obtaining their second keystone now. This is Talk, our NPC that kind of guides us through the early game as we're heading to the right. Gonna pass Region Tree, which is a bit underwater. We will fix that and collect that tree later. For now, we can see that the Dalory is gonna QTM even these small cutscenes, because technically, since we removed the load time, and after you load back in, the door is opened, you save time, even though you can see that Mawe is now quote-unquote ahead.
And so yeah, the only way to really keep track of that is just by looking at the timers on the bottom. So if you're ever wondering which runner is in the lead, just try to keep an eye on that. We'll also try and keep you updated whenever they hit trees, as those are some pretty nice split times for us to keep track of and to say, hey, Mawe is ahead or behind at Regen Tree or Sword Tree or etc. etc.
Yeah, it is fairly difficult to keep track of this run, since it also varies a bit in terms of routing. You can do various different routes, as Mawe is the seemingly first to defeat the big angry wolf. Dalory QTMing this little cutscene, as well as both are gonna head down to the first actual real weapon that we can actually use throughout the entire run, which is the trusty sword. We will see it in many ways. It helps with both movement and combat as well, even though we're not gonna see it with combat.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't keep Torch throughout the entire run, even though upswinging it is so fun. But Sword definitely has its own perks, especially once we get maybe about 10 minutes further in and buy another skill that we'll be seeing, hopefully, in 10 minutes then, and it'll be phenomenal. Oh,
Mawe got the... Ooh, Mawe is attempting this trick with a pause float, gets across, so doesn't need to do the turnaround or the going around that Dalory has to do. No problem here. Mawe also got the nice pogo jump off of the slime spit. Dalory didn't quite get that. So basically you can pogo, so down slash on enemies as well as some projectiles to be able to get height. And that is what Mawe successfully did. We can also use the down slash to get down faster. So that is what you can see as well. And overall, there's just so much varied movement with Sword that is used throughout the entire run. And we can use that. So now Mawe, the first onto Double Jump Tree according to the stream. Let's see if it's actually true.
Yep. We are getting that Dalory was about 11 seconds ahead at the Sword Tree in pauseless time, loadless time. But let's see how far they are ahead or behind at Double Jump. Dalory is 5 seconds ahead at Double Jump, so Mawe managed to make up some time through this split.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, I didn't quite see if Mawe picked up Sticky, but Dalory picked up Sticky, and that will be helpful in the next upcoming trick, because we're moving upwards now back towards the region tree. And there is a keystone door there. Now, as you may have seen, there's our runners aren't going for the keystone that is underneath the lorry right now, but instead they are opting to skip that keystone door with some very precise movement, and the shard sticky just helps with doing so. So Marvin not equipping it makes me think that he didn't pick it up. So oh no, has it equipped. So now just needs to pogo off of this and yes, gets it first try, easily done. This can lose a lot of time if you take a few tries, so let's hope Dalory also gets it.
Dude, that's great. This trick absolutely destroys my runs. To see Mawe just nail it first try, no hesitation. Mind blown. Like, holy crap. That's so good. Let's see if Dalory can keep up. Even if you get this trick after a couple tries, it can be faster than getting the extra keystones. Largely because you can have that extra keystone for use later in somewhere like Molderwood.
Yeah, and Dalory has mentioned that he had quite some trouble with this trick in his previous attempts, so hopefully it doesn't take too long today. Oh, doesn't quite get the down slash, so needs to try again. Mawe on his way already towards the region tree is now actually in the lead, not only visually but also time-wise. So let's look at the right. Dalory deciding to QTM to reset the position of the enemy, so it's easier to use him to get up, and hopefully we'll be able to get this trick. Also, note from our restreamer, this is currently a resync, so Mave's side hasn't magically stopped doing stuff, but it's rather just paused, so we can have the proper time comparison as well.
And with Dalory loading and reloading every time, that might take a little bit longer, but I definitely don't blame him for doing all this. This trick is ridiculous. You have to hover in the air with sword just long enough so that the spider mantis can get back to you, and then you pogo off of it. Then you have to use your sword to hover back up again in order to get a tiny little ledge on... Is that a mushroom? I don't know what it is. It's tiny and it's horrible. And as I say it, oh, Dalory gets it. All right, now they can move on with the run.
I was a bit scared because of the way he jumped towards the right. I was scared he was gonna fall over there, which is heartbreaking if it ever happens, but luckily didn't happen. And we see Mawe on the left going for another shard. This is the resilience shard, which kind of makes us take less damage, which will be used later to skip a section where you swim through some dirty water to be able to get to Dash Tree. And as you can imagine, Dash is a fast skill, and we want that. And 400 Spirit Light on the side of Mawe means he's able to afford the skill that's gonna break the game.
Yeah, when you said Dash is a fast skill, that's true, but you know what might even be faster? Sentry. The way our runners use this is absolutely spectacular, so keep your eyes on Mawe. Gonna buy Sentry, equip it, and then... Oh, that was a little bit of a short one. Hopefully we'll get to see another one right here. Yep. There we go. That's a Sentry jump, all right.
Yeah, I am actually not sure, since Mawe is a controller runner, if he uses a bind for these grounded sentry jumps. You can, since it is the same frame press, you can bind it to one button. But on controller you're kind of limited, so I'm not sure if those are manual ones or actually binded ones. The Dalory Spirit Light count is also looking good, also going for the resilience, so no route divergence here, both going for that same trick later.
Yeah, the main route divergence we'll see is about halfway through the run, so at least for the time being, we're pretty confident that our runners won't be doing anything too crazy. Although there are so many variations to this run. If you watch the Oriversary tournament, where we had 4 runners doing 4 different variations, it's kind of bonkers. But for now, Dava and Mal... oh my god, I got their names mixed up. Help!
Dalory and Mawe.
Thank you. Dalory and Mawe are going to be doing just about the same order of all the trees for now.
I mean, to be fair, the stuff during Oriversary wasn't optimal of any kind. It was more like, oh yeah, we want to show different things that you can do in this game, not necessarily for the speedrun. But
Okay,
it's
but it was
definitely always
optimally
good to
cool.
see the variety.
Yeah. But yeah, both of our runners will be sticking with the main sentry jump and sword route for the early game. It is the fastest. You don't have to go out of your way to get anything weird like hammer or spike, and you actually have sentry jumps at your disposal the entire time, which is great.
Yeah, and we're getting a high five from our runners, both here at the Qualock statue. Dalory just started the bow room as Mawe is finishing it. We have the timers resynced, so this is somewhat accurate. You can see already because of the QTMs that the timers are desynced immediately again. Especially in the mid game, we will probably just leave it that way because it's very tedious to do this after every QTM. Mawe now with this down swim gets the save point first try, and wow, I couldn't even explain it this fast.
Yeah, that is a textbook hollow swim. You have to jump and press regenerate on the same frame so that you can regenerate in midair, which gives you extra iframes when swimming down. You hit a load trigger in the middle of the swim, which you then reload from after you die, and then you can just swim through from the halfway point. It's ridiculous, and Mawe just pulls it off like it is free.
Yeah, it doesn't save quite as much time as it could in some other categories, because we still have to activate the door. So we still have to lower some of the water, but it is still a considerable time save. So now Mawe, first person at dash tree at 10:57. We'll have to see how long it takes. Dalory at bow tree, they were about a minute behind Mawe, so maybe making some of the time up. But with the way Mawe went to dash tree, I wouldn't be surprised if that difference got bigger.
It looks like Dalory is going to be attempting the exact same hollow swim strat, and hopefully we'll be getting it with the exact same amount of ease. We're going to see them start it, hit the spikes. There's the... Oh! Ooh, missed the first save point. Luckily, Will-O-the-Wisp has an incredibly generous autosave system, especially compared to Blind Forest. So
Without autosaves.
exactly. But Dalory will be able to retry this pretty quickly and easily until they can manage to hit that mid-water save point. Meanwhile, on Mawe's side, we are about to see the same thing in reverse, actually, because, hey, the poison water's still there. So they are first going to go out of their way to grab a shard. Is this one Splinter or Quick Shot?
Nope.
It's Quick Shot. Because we will be using the bow quite a lot throughout the run. But after they have gone and grabbed the shard, it's time to go back up through the poison water, and this part is even harder than the way down.
Yeah, you can see Dalory struggling on the way down. Let's see how long it takes Mawe. Mawe gets the save point, which is the hard part, first try. Now just needs to swim up. Didn't quite take the right way. Needs to die to the spikes first, because it kind of gives you a bit of a boost for the next attempt. So now gets up and wow. Only 3 tries on the second part, so easily done. Can now lower the water to open the door and get to the teleporter. And Dalory has made his way slowly towards the tree, pulled the lever, and can now head up as well.
Yep. And so Dalory also will have to do that same swim back up in just a sec, which again, ridiculously difficult. But hey, it's what you can do to save some seconds over pulling all the levers to get the water out of the way. We do now have a comparison for their times at the dash tree. It looks like there is a little less than 2 minutes now that Mawe is in the lead in terms of loadless time.
Yeah, and especially considering the time saves that Dalory has due to QTMing, it is actually quite a considerable lead. But of course there will be lots of runs, lots of time to catch that up in the rest of the run. So we will see how they do in the mid game, which is rapidly approaching. So we're now with Mawe on the left side and a small resync at Bash tree, and Bash, of course, the skill from Blind Forest, and also very important in Will of the Wisps, one of the main movement options, as Dalory is showing this cool QTM strat where if you collect it right after you load back into the game, the animation is shorter.
Oh, and we never actually explained wave dashing, did we? We were so focused on all the other cool tricks that the early game has to show off. The runners have both utilizing it very, very well to skip basically any straight line that they can. Just by dashing at a wall, pressing regenerate, and going in the opposite direction, physics decides to take a nap, and the runners just fly. It's one of the funnest tricks in the game, and it looks absolutely fantastic when pulled off by runners as skilled as these two.
Yeah, it is very powerful. If you think that sentry jumps are powerful up and down, then the equivalent to that to left and right is definitely wave dashes. We will see them in various positions, and yet again, we might have an advantage on Dalory's side due to KBM and being able to use binds. But Mawe so far, like, not showing any problems with the controller. So, gonna attempt this one. Wow, nicely done.
Yeah. Between sentry jumps and wave dashes, our runners have incredible vertical speed and incredible horizontal speed already 15 minutes into the run. But there is still so much to this game that there is potentially an hour left.
Yeah, hopefully not quite an hour, so both our runners have a good run. But it could very well be the case, and yeah, this is, we're sorry for that. Sometimes the resync doesn't quite work in our favor.
Oh my god, Mawe, just when, to skip the Hornbug fight, you have to avoid the trigger. Mawe does a wave dash straight into an aerial sentry jump. God, that's such a cool trick to watch. Aerial sentry jumps are even harder to hit than grounded sentry jumps. Mawe makes it look like it's cake, as they are now going to make it into a hub area that we just do not care about. We'll try to skip a cutscene, and does so just by jumping and dashing constantly. And look at all the NPCs here. We do not care about any of them, except Twilin. Again, pronunciation is impossible.
Yeah, Twilin is our dealer for mysterious blue shards. Don't question it. Those are, of course, our upgrades for damage and other mobility options. And we will buy Overcharge, which reduces all our energy costs by half. We will buy a Quick Shot upgrade, so we can fire more arrows. And that is it for now. As you can see, all the time we do a sentry jump or we do a wave dash, it costs energy. So whenever we can save some of that, we are gladly taking that for the sake of speed. Wow, okay, so on the side of Mawe, there's a cutscene there that you want to skip. And he tried to get there. Oh. Okay. Didn't quite manage. Was trying to show off with a wave dash here that and a sentry jump in the air to get over the trigger. Now is going for the safer option and does get it. This is a very long cutscene, so just not having to watch it is so much better for speed.
Yep. And there will be a couple more cutscenes in this area that runners will be skipping and maybe watching because they're a little bit unskippable. Like this one. It's a door opening. Pretty cool.
We will have another unskippable cutscene on the side of map. Wow, pogoing off of the fish. I've never seen that. That's super cool.
This goes to show, the knowledge in this game. There's so many different ways to get through this room. Like, you can wave dash across the water, or, as I just learned right now, you can just pogo off of an underwater fish. Super cool strat right there. That will get Mawe into the cutscene that we can't skip. So, some of the lore matters, and it's just this one, basically.
And Dalory on the right side also did some bow lifts as well. Okay, so first of all, he also did the amazing wave dash that Mawe did earlier across Hornbach, but then he also did some bow lifts, which basically enhanced the height you get from a double jump by pressing bow in at a very specific time. and it allows you to basically go up a bit further. That's a very hard trick, and he just casually did 2 in a row.
Yep. And also managed to get the small cutscene skip in this area, and we'll then also be grabbing Twillin's shards to let us do some combat later on. And yeah, following Mawe, who has now progressed almost to, and is now at, the grapple tree.
Just all the wave dash is so casually done by Mawe. It's amazing to see. Like, he just walks up to a wall and immediately is on the other side of the room. Oh no! Yeah. A death by Dalory, and this is unfortunately an area where the save points are a bit further spread apart because, well, you can't put them anywhere in the air, I guess. But
or
he's
above
now at the same
floating
position.
Or poison water either, which will be cleaned up. Some runs can skip this in both Ori games, but this one we are doing all main quests, and getting Soggy is 100% a main quest. Our runners will be guaranteed Soggy. Beautiful.
It's very important as well to get Soggy. Moki, do appreciate it, and what do we even play this game for if not to save the Moki? Let's be honest.
To save Ku? I think that's supposed to be the goal.
I mean, it is the goal when you start the game. But I would say by the end you're like, Moki.
Yeah, the Mokis are absolutely adorable. And,
I mean, and both can be goals, so...
Yeah, that's fair. We can save everyone. Hooray! Well, of course, we can only save people who are friendly to us, as Mawe is about to find some people who are not friendly to us. We, in fact, cannot save any of these enemies. They must die in this combat arena for us to proceed. And now you will be seeing Power of the Bow with Quickshot and Splinter and Overcharge. Enemies melt. It's amazing.
Yeah, bow combat is great, but I need to touch on you said that we can only save people that are good to us, so are you implying that Quorlock is not good to us?
Quorlock is a very bad boy. The only good boy is Bauer because he doesn't attack us. Quorlock is not good. Okay. I changed my mind.
I know there's some people that do believe that Quorlock is the actual main villain of the game, so...
I actually have not heard that theory. I just don't like his boss fight.
It goes something like, why did he not tell us that we need to become a tree? As well as maybe he just ate the corruption or made the corruption attack Ori.
Huh. Yeah, that seems a little bit of a stretch to me.
Yes, I am not part of that.
We will definitely see Quorlock's big bad tentacle boy in here in a sec. Although Mawe is trying to does not manage to get it. If you pause on the same frame the cutscene starts, you just skip it. But otherwise, Mawe will just exit the cutscene. That also skips it. It's just a little bit slower with loading screens. And that will start the Wellspring escape for them, where hopefully we won't actually be seeing much of the tentacle monster at all, as, oh my gosh, just look at that wave dash right on through, absolutely air dashing everywhere. Will Mawe go for wheel skip? Ooh. Yes, they will, and they nail it. So we can kind of skip this falling wheel and make it through a little bit faster there into this next section, which also just zooms by with really well-timed grapples and launches from those grapple wheels. We'll be getting done here. More grapples. It's almost like it's a test that you just got grapple a couple minutes ago. And with one final wheel in the way, a couple bashes will get Mawe through. And we are in the Soggy cutscene. Great Wellspring escape from Mawe.
Yeah, that was great to watch. The wheel skip especially is incredibly hard because if you die, or if you don't get it, you die immediately and have to restart right from the start. So we see the bow combat on the side of Dalory, both of them going for the powerful bow combination. And more QTMs to save time. Another unskippable cutscene on Mawe's side. Yeah, this is lore happening right here.
Honestly, I wouldn't skip this one even if it was skippable. Like, come on, this is the Soggy cutscene. You have to watch it.
important to note, Dalory just performed a very nice trick where he shoots the corruption, and as it's getting shot at, he stands in the wheel to kind of get transported a bit further. So that's really nice to see, of course, because he QTMT respawned at the other side again, but still a great attempt. Did save a bit of time because he still spawned a bit further to the right than he normally would, and can now continue up towards the 3rd floor as well as we get some more resyncing. And we get word that Mawe only took 52 seconds for the escape, which I'm not an expert in any kind of trials or what the usual times are for that, but that seems pretty quick.
I can tell you that's faster than I've ever done it, that's for sure.
And some nice aerial sentry jumps to get enough height for the 3rd floor. We'll now hopefully also have enough Spirit Light to afford fast travel, and then start the escape as well. So you can see that they are pretty much one escape apart right now.
If we see Dalory will attempt, also doesn't get the single frame pause. Again, that's not too much of a time save because once you hit the cutscene, you can just leave it. But we are seeing something else on Mawe's screen. The lore tells us to go back to Quolok, and we're doing main quest order, right? So, hey, 2Kill, what's Mawe doing right now? If it's not the main quest.
He's preparing for the main quest. There is a water section after Quolok, since we just cleaned the water. And Mawe is getting a skill that's gonna make that a bit quicker, as well as preparing for the later boss rush section. So, because the only thing that actually continued the quest are stuff like starting a boss or talking to some NPCs. We don't do any of that. We just go, get the water dash skill, and then leave the area again. So that way we don't progress the main quest order, but we get the skill and can continue on later. And since we got the fast travel just, we will also get the teleporter that is right next to the boss to be able to get there quickly later. We will see the same thing from Dalory after he's done the escape and watched the cutscene here. So, yeah, we just need to get through Luma pools really quickly, and so far Mawe is making it look really easy.
We do also have an update on the times. Our runners started Wellspring about a minute and a half apart. So that's Mawe being ahead by about a minute and a half over Dalory. So Dalory, I believe, is made up a little bit of time, actually, in the Wellspring section.
Yeah, not too much, but a bit. And this will add up if it continues happening. There's a bunch of levers in Wellspring where Dalory just saved some time by QTMing. We had Mawe joke about before that he might be watching the race and depending on how close it is also start QTMing, but he quickly shoved that idea to the side and just decided to continue his style of RTA strats, since he is also running categories that use the RTA-based strats.
Yeah, there's definitely said to be something to be said about sticking with comfortable strats in the middle of a tournament race where the pressure's on, and Mawe seems to be handling the pressure pretty well so far, having executed just about everything perfectly so far, with maybe a minor slip up here or there that Mawe will just do second try. Easy peasy.
And wow, that was a very nice wave dash on the side of Dalory to get into pools. Didn't need to do the mid-air sentry jump, as Mawe is gonna fight our first actual boss that isn't Howl. Gonna use some dashes to avoid the stomp attacks and just gonna attack Hornbuck here. So is gonna hope for some good attacks. Luckily, all of the attacks are fairly good for attacking as much as possible. Wow, I was not sure that last chat would get out, but nicely done. Hornbuck is no more. Can now continue into woods. And one note for Hornbuck as well, this isn't just main quest order. Main quest order is a subcategory of all challenges, so we need to defeat all the bosses. Otherwise we could just skip Hornbuck here.
We actually do skip Hornbuck twice earlier in the run, but now is the last time we'll actually walk through that area, and we just happen to have a boatload of bow upgrades by this point that make it really easy to absolutely stomp on him, as you saw Mawe do. And Mawe attempting to skip a little cutscene here where we talk to the Moki, but hey, Moki, you're cute. I'll watch this cutscene. And they're talking about squeaky mill, brushing water. It's adorable. This is why we watch the Soggy cutscene.
And on the right, we see a bit of a difference between patch 2 and 3. Patch 3 is a bit more consistent or has a different setup for avoiding the door at this combat arena where Dalory is at. He had to reload once to be able to go through this area without activating the fight. But now is through and can continue onwards as Mawe is approaching Ku that we talked about. And we'll be heading through with some nice wave dashes further on. And we will also see the advantage of having done door skip earlier, because he can just open the door right now and head up while the door is opening, which is a nice time save to have.
And then again, you keep this key stone right here for a later area as well. And there are a lot of interesting tricks in this section. It looks like Mawe isn't going to go for Ku skip, which, understandable. Ku skip is ridiculous and impossible. There are a couple other cutscene skips, though, that Mawe absolutely nailed the first one in Silent Woods earlier. Hopefully we'll get to see that on Dalory's screen. But then even with Ku, there are a couple of little small cutscenes here and there that you can skip by just manipulating Ku's movement really, really well.
Yeah, and a small update on the time. At Water Dash, our two runners were roughly 1.5 minutes apart. Still, of course, with Mawe in the lead. And yet again, don't get too confused about timers. It is confusing, we know. We're trying our best, but unfortunately the restreaming software only allows for so much resyncing.
Yeah. And again, Mawa's doing real-time strats, so their timer is going to be a lot more accurate to what's on stream, whereas Dalory is doing in-game time strats, which means they're going to be pausing and quitting to menu, which syncs the timers even more. It's a little bit impossible to keep everything synced up at that point.
Absolutely agree. Also, this Squonky is being a bit annoying here. It's just gonna bash it into the spikes to be able to fight Hornback without interruption. Is gonna try to preserve some energy to be able to defeat him, but it's looking good. It's looking like Hornback will be gone in a second. Just needs one more phase. And Hornback is done. As Mawe is doing this Ku section very quickly, getting all the keystones, doesn't need to worry about the shenanigans that Dalory will probably do, is gonna take this intentional death to skip this door animation, and is now heading through this area. Gets the skip here to be able to squeeze through it. Ooh, does take a damage, and with Overcharge still equipped, decides to take this plant. Quick thinking here.
Yeah, there's definitely, we have a little bit of extra health, especially for things like Silent Swim earlier on in the run, but until we start getting the wisps, we really don't get that much more in terms of resources. And again, Overcharge does everything deal double damage, so just taking a couple hits can spell death very, very quickly for both of our runners. And so Mawe being very careful there, grabbing a little bit of extra health even, just in case. As they keep moving up, we're going to have a little bit of a cutscene here, and, well, Dalory's screen. Hopefully we will get to see, oh, beautiful. That is the same trick that Mawe did earlier. Skips a decent cutscene in this early area where Shriek yells at us because, well, her name is Shriek. What else is she going to do?
I mean, she's guarding the Silent Wood, so you would kind of assume she's silent, but not quite.
Yeah, that's a good point. What a hypocrite Shriek is. Come on.
Almost like she might be the villain of the game, and villains are designed to be sometimes not quite understood.
No, all the best villains are going to be sympathetic, right? But let's turn our eyes to Dalory's screen as they're going for Ku skip. And oh my god, first try! That is incredible!
Yeah, and didn't quite go for the same setup that some other runners go to that involves bow, but actually uses, region dashes. Did another one there. Regent Sentry dashes is, I think, the correct name. It's very hard tech, and he just made it look easy.
Yeah, that is bonkers to just get. Oh, I can't even think. That's so cool. Unfortunately, for main quest order, we do kind of need Ku. Ku's part of the main quest. So even though doing that skip does save time, Dalory does need to go back, hit a cutscene trigger, die, and that just kind of gives us Ku for free. So we go back and hit another cutscene trigger, and then proceed as normal with Ku, so we can actually complete the main quest, which Mawe is definitely completing part of the main quest right now, which, oh no. Ku.
Yeah, don't worry, she's just sleeping. Ku's just sleeping, everything's fine. She's taking a nap. We're gonna do our own thing while she catches up on sleep. I mean, to be fair, the Silent Woods are pretty scary. I can understand not wanting to sleep in there, so she needs to sleep. We're gonna let her sleep and continue on. So now comes the kind of boss rush where we're getting all the wisps. And our two runners are doing two very different routes here. Mawe is gonna start in Reach. I do believe this is to be able to do the fights with just more resources, because Reach is the one area that doesn't contain any boss.
Bauer is the only good one, remember. He doesn't fight you. He just wants to take a nap too. He and Ku should be cuddle buddies.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be a very warm blanket.
I mean, to be fair, by the end of... We're kind of waking Bauer up. So, by the end of the area, he will not be sleeping anymore.
Yeah.
For now, Mawa's going through, and Dalory is doing this very cute little section with Ku. Unfortunately, not a lot of speed tech here. Oh no!
What?
It takes...
How did he not hit the bubble? The bubble is right there!
Yeah, bubbles. Bubbles have interesting hitboxes, and they can sometimes just push you into the water if you're not careful. So I assume that's what happened there.
Unlucky.
We'll make his way through, though. We don't have a lot of options to speed up this section because we can't use any abilities besides jumping and gliding and flapping and bow. So we'll just go through here. And we see Mawe on the left side. Skipping grenade. How's that?
Yeah, so normally you need grenade for a lot of different things in this area. Oh god, run! But as it turns out, Sentry also has the same explosion property as grenade. So by planting a sentry right there, once the sentry detonates, it just acts like a grenade. And by using this in a couple key points throughout Bauer's Reach, we just can skip an entire skill. It's really, really convenient since, well, we already have sentry because it's super fast for sentry jumps. And by just doing stuff like that, leaving a sentry near the lamp, when it explodes, it's just going to open this door for us. Easy peasy. Mawe will be able to move on to the combat arena of Bauer's Reach.
Yeah, should be absolutely no problem, as Dalory is also gonna find Ku sleeping here. Sad cutscene. Unfortunately, lore we have to watch. And Mawe getting through the first phase, getting through the Golek, is deciding to heal up. Good decision, honestly. It's better to like heal up and lose about 2 or 3 seconds than to die in such a circumstance.
Having a little bit of trouble with the mini horn bug, but does manage to get through. And then, hey, look, another enemy that can only be attacked from one direction. Luckily, with the Gorlex, Mawe can just bash through and hit them in their butts while they are too busy swinging their giant pickaxes. And repeating that a couple times will clear the enemy gauntlet.
I also just want to add that Gorlek normally aren't this slow, but these Gorlek are corrupted. So their thinking is quite slow, but you know, you can see with Grom as well as the Gorlek miner in Wastes that they are definitely great fellows, and don't judge them by their corrupted brothers.
Well, they're only great if they don't talk to us when we get into their home area because we messed up the skip, which...
I mean, to be fair, destroying someone's property isn't nice.
Yeah, but maybe you don't block Ori's path when Ori's trying to save the world, you know?
Oh, Mawe on the left going for... Wow, that was such a nice edit. Let's go for it a second time is attempting another nice trick to get up here, but didn't quite get it. Wow,
And
very nicely done though.
Mawe is approaching another cutscene skip. It's pretty difficult to get this. You have to get a mid-air sentry jump and not go too high. And yeah, Mawe gets it. So now there is still some difficulty because if you die during the escape, you have to do that trick again. So Mawe really wants to not touch any spikes here or any of the instant kill snow that's around. But they are moving very, very quickly through this escape and taking no damage, just flawless through this area. And I don't know, it just looks good. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, is even getting the turnaround jumps before grapple. This allows to kind of grapple glide as you would bash glide. And is done. And while the action on the left side is happening, there's also action on the right side because Dalory started his Wisps Rush in Moldwood Depths. Is gonna go through here, gonna collect these 2 keystones for later. As you can see, keystone management throughout the entire run is absolutely important. Is gonna shoot his bow to be able to not die to the darkness, because it turns out, for whatever reason, bow works as well. And is gonna go towards the first actual big boss we see this run, which is gonna be a scary spider, so if you don't like spiders, maybe look away. And Mawe on the left is also going for another boss. Got the TP to Qualock earlier and can now just start it. So combat on both sides, let's see how it goes.
It's so convenient that both sentry and bow can be used for grenade and what's the skill? Blaze? I don't remember the skill's name. It doesn't matter. It's Blaze. Because those are both the things that we need in the run for sentry jumps, as well as for the combat, which, again, you're about to see 2 amazing fights, both of which just have our runners destroying these health bars, just holding bow and managing to dodge attacks. Again, with overcharge equipped, our runners will take double damage, so it is very important to know the boss's patterns and to be able to dodge them. And Dalory is doing a great job on Mora Phase 1. Does take a little bit of acid, but gets through first phase very well. Mawe is also getting through the first phase of Qualock, which is just an escape. So pretty simple, does a lot of great water dashing to get through, and will be moving as far to the left as possible to try and get Qualock to rubber band a little faster.
Yeah, is getting into the fight phase now. Or rather patch 3 doesn't allow for the rubber banding as mentioned, but now can start, is gonna place a few sentries and then just fire his bow to the best of his abilities to be able to... Oh no! He takes a death, but luckily this fight saves before the actual fight part starts, so it doesn't need to do the escape yet, but can start as Dalory is melting the bar of the spider. Mora is not having a great time, needs to fire the bow to stay alive, and should be done fairly soon.
Yep. Mora is... Oh my god, just an incredible fight from Dalory. Did not take a single unintentional death in there. Mawe did take one earlier in Qualock Phase 1, because when Qualock hits the ground... Ooh! We might see it again. When Qualock does a belly flop in the middle of the arena, it can destroy that center and create some spikes that are really hard to avoid. But Mawe is going to start this fight again. Luckily, Qualock gives a really nice attack that lets us stun him. And ooh, this Qualock looks a little bit annoying for Mawe to fight. But once again, on to Phase 2. Qualock is very generous. He just kind of sits there for a couple seconds while doing his phase transition. Just attack him during that time. And so Mawe manages to get quite a bit of damage in before heading into Phase 2. This Phase 2 is looking a lot better. Just a sliver of health left. And there we go. Mawe gets it. So Mawe has now finished Bower's Reach and the Qualock fight. Meanwhile, Dalory has just finished Mora and is now on to Bower's Reach. So our runners have collectively collected the middle 3 wisps, but now they have to go and repeat each other's sections. Dalory going into Bower's and then Qualock fight, whereas Mawe still has to do Moldwood. Well, I have to do Moldwood after watching the frog slowly talk for a bit while a bunch of Moki watch, and it's again, very sad. If you don't like sadness, check out Dalory's stream, where you can see some pretty quick action happening as he blasts his way without grenade through Bowers Reach, the same way that Mawe just did a second ago.
Yeah, making the area look easy. We'll go and do some... Oh, actually some grounded sentry jumps did take off overcharge to be able to do that. Wow, more sentry... I am still not sure about the name of this. It involves sentry and regen and dashing. That's all I know.
So it's probably called Sentry Regen Dash.
Yeah, I think that might actually be true. It might be regen sentry dash, maybe.
There are so many tricks in this game that just involve you using 2 skills at once, like sentry and jump, or hammer sentry jump. Most of them involve sentry.
Sentry and jump also involves sword. And
okay,
doesn't
that's
involve jumping.
Sword sentry jump.
Actually. Oh well, but back to the action as we get into the fight room here. Let's see how well he does with this. He's also gonna use the same bash trick to be able to get behind the Gorlick and start the fight, as Mawe is now on his way to the last wisp as well. Gonna go towards Moldwood Depths. No problem on the side of Dalory for the fight so far. Doesn't need to heal, so is gonna save some time over Mawe, who had a bit more issue with this fight. Also, the energy is looking great, so no problem there.
That being said, Mawe only has one area to complete here, being Moldwood, whereas Dalory still has to finish Bowers and then also do the Kolak fight. So while Dalory definitely did make up some time, hopefully will make up some time compared to Mawe's Kolak fight, there's still a bit of a gap between them, and we will see how different their time is once they converge their routes again in the desert area, whose name I just cannot remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Windswept Wastes.
Thank you.
I mean, to be fair, I don't even think Dalory is behind anymore. We can see that there's like 2.5 minutes just of timer divergence, and Dalory is almost done with his second area. And after that, it's only Qualok, which he has the teleporter to.
That is true, and Dalory also does hit that cutscene skip really, really nicely to squeeze between the top of the screen and the cutscene trigger. So, again, if they die in the middle of this, they will have to do that trick again. So, hoping to just have a really nice way avoiding the avalanche as they go down. And Mawe is also going down into the darkness, which also happens to be an instant kill plane, as long as they don't use bow, which they're likely going to do to keep themselves alive. Alive is good.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see, since we kind of need sword and sentry to be able to sentry jump. We have this weird thing where we both need regen for regen dashes, wave dashes, as well as bow to stay alive. So it's this interesting thing of how many times do you want to swap abilities and still save time.
And
So now Dalory finished out the escape. Easy peasy, is gonna move on towards Qualok, and we will see the reverse of what happened before, where Dalory was fighting the spider while Mawe fought the frog. So good luck on both of them, and we will see, as you mentioned, by the end, how it's actually looking in terms of time. Dalory will of course have a very long cutscene by the end.
And I do want to note that the runners doing these bosses last makes actually them a little bit easier, because for every previous boss or Bowers escape that you've done, you get another wisp, which increases your health and energy. So the first boss that you do is the hardest one, and then the last one that you do is the easiest one. So both of them have a little bit more health and energy. Doesn't mean that these fights are easy by any chance. They still have overcharge and will take double damage, but yeah, Mawe just obliterates Mora phase 1. So doing pretty well so far, as Dalory is getting into the escape from Quolok, while Mawe's doing the escape from Mora.
Yeah, just synced battles here, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mawe actually took an intentional death by the start of the phase. No, is actually just gonna use Splinter to get a full energy refill again, as Dalory has the rubber banding because he is on patch 2, so doesn't need to wait for Qualock for quite as long. Still does a bit of showing off. Fair enough, you don't have anything better to do. But Mawe almost done with the spider as Dalory is starting it, but you can see that both of these health bars are just melting with the way our runners are fighting.
Mawe does get stuck on kind of the wrong side. You want to be closer to the energy, but controlling where Mora goes is hard, and Mawe will just walk back over during the darkness cutscene to grab the extra energy, and absolutely blasts through Mora phase 2. Both of our runners there just had perfect Mora fights.
Yeah, and actually important to note, Mawe did not have overcharge equipped, but reckless, so he could deal a bit more damage on the expense, of course, of losing more energy. But now, as mentioned, it's going into windswept wastes, and by the end of Dalory's Qualock fight and the cutscene, we can actually tell you how it's looking for this race, because it's impossible to tell right now. So yeah. Mawe on the left side is going for the feeding ground skip, and is actually going for the touchless feeding ground skip.
Yeah, hitting the ground at any point here triggers a little bit of a cutscene, so Mawe's trying to use sentry jumps to avoid that, and then jumping off of skeletons on the ground. Oh my gosh, perfect execution there. Maybe with a couple of missed aerial sentries, but those are hard, and Mawe got the backups right away, so we'll be skipping the cutscene there. Simple as pie, and making their way into windswept wastes. A little bit before Dalory, who still has to watch the frog very slowly die.
Yeah, so unfortunately Mawe with a small death. Luckily, as mentioned, good saving system in this game, so can continue on and will continue towards the next skill tree, which will be Burrow, and our second to last skill that we are getting this run. Before we're heading through the end of the area and doing kind of the final escape. That isn't quite the final escape yet. It is gonna grant us the last wisp though, so that is the important part, as Dalory on the right has almost finished the cutscene. And yeah, we're seeing Mawe just speeding through the area.
Absolutely. And it should be noted that Mawe is on controller while Dalory is on keyboard. While the runs are pretty comparable, Burrow is one of, I think, the big differences between them. Because with controller, you have full 360-degree motion of your burrowing. Whereas with keyboard, you have 8 directions. Just 8. And so, while Dalory will almost certainly manage to do some pretty cool stuff, Mawe will maybe have a little bit easier the controller just burrows super well through this entire very sandy area.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the advantages of controller, just the general many input directions that you have compared to everything else. Gonna unequip overcharge here not to die. Understandable, as Dalory is getting towards feeding grounds as well. We'll see which version of feeding ground skip he's gonna go for. He needs to go for one of them, because otherwise you have a lot of cutscenes and you're not gonna have a good time. So, did get the... Is also going
save.
for the touchless version. Let's see. And, ooh, this is looking good. Yeah, very nicely done.
My heart was racing when he nearly hit the ground there at the very start, but managed aerial sentry jump away from it, and then continued on aerial sentrying the rest of the area to skip the cutscene, just as Mawe did, and will be entering windswept wastes of his own, as Mawe is just about exiting them, heading, well, I guess this area is still the windswept wastes, but...
That they both took the exact same death on those spikes after... after a wave dash, so not really lost any time compared to their opponent on either side. As Mawe is in the lore area here, our friend Seer, or rather our friend the Voice of the Forest, is gonna explain what happened to the wisp in this area and all these little cutscenes that you can skip some of them, but not really. That you kind of have to click through. So just making sure to get through them as fast as possible. as Dalory also got Burrow, and we have confirmation Dalory is now 30 seconds in the lead, actually. So even though it might not look like it, Dalory on the right is in the lead.
Ooh. This race, yeah, is just a lot closer than, what was it, 1:30 we had in the coup area. So Dalory's made up 2 minutes over Mawe. And this race is, again, still anyone's game as we move into what's basically the late game here.
Yeah, we have to move through this area. There's this escape that Mawe is approaching with a long cutscene before, so buckle up, everyone. Dalory might get to the same area while this cutscene is playing, so for now we focus on the right side where Dalory is gonna show off this aforementioned KVM burrowing, which can be... You can get quite some angles, but it's more restrictive, and you definitely have to be more precise. Ooh, unfortunately this burrowing enemy didn't quite go to the trajectory Dalory wanted it to go, but gets it this time. Needs to be careful about the health though, so definitely needs to bash this guy instead of standing in its way. But now, pulling the lever is going through. Mawe is still watching a cutscene.
Luckily, Dalory is doing in-game time strats, which means saving and quitting. And that refills your health and some of your energy, depending on how low you are. So because of that, Dalory got set to look like 4 or 5 health, and then immediately took a hit, so is back down to 1 again. And might take another death here, which will refill his health again. Because there's a little neat skip that you can do with enough health here, where you just dash through a laser, makes this area really fast. But Mawe also take an intentional death to go fast, as they are starting the Sandworm escape.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the areas where Mawe might save some time, just because the burrow angles are much better on controller. You can take more optimal routes in here and don't have to worry about the Sandworm catching up or anything. So let's see how it goes, as Dalory is now entering the lore zone and gonna have to click through a lot of text. So Mawe approaching the jump pad, going to burrow through here, is gonna stall a bit, waiting out the worm. And then
Mawe gonna go in the tail. Mawe goes in the tail a little bit. The hitbox doesn't actually fully extend back there, so if it's optimal to just kind of clip into the tail a little bit where there's no hurt box. And Mawe does that to save a bit of time. It is a bit risky because if you touch it, you die. But that being said, Mawe does pull off this escape very, very quickly. And, oh boy. So Mawe's screen, we're going to have to see some waiting. And on Dalory's screen, we're going to have to see some waiting. This is the most riveting part of the run, folks. Stay tuned.
Yeah, so much action happening on both sides. I just have one question. Did you just say hurt box instead of hitbox? If so, I'm going to steal it. If not,
It's
I'm
the
still
same
gonna
thing, right?
Yeah.
Dalory does have a...
maybe to explain what Mawe is doing here. So if you wait for 42.5 seconds, I think is it?
Yep.
You don't have to watch the cutscene actually, and the cutscene itself is something along the lines of like 47 seconds. So you save a bit of time by just waiting out until you can teleport away instead of watching the cutscene. And you don't need the cutscene to continue the main quest order.
Notably, though, you don't actually get Sire. While the game does update the main quest, it doesn't update the extra health and energy that you would get from it. So Mawe will be heading into the final section of the game with 1 less health and energy, but experienced runners like him should be just fine, even with Overcharge constantly equipped, just to be able to avoid basically all damage going through.
Yeah, and to note here, Mawe unfortunately activated almost activated a cutscene here, so had to QTM to try again going over this feeding grounds area. This is one of the most satisfying wave dashes you can do in the game, in my
Absolutely
opinion.
beautiful, and follows it up too, because if you don't get that mid-air sentry jump, you just kind of hit a wall and stop about halfway through, but Mawe leaps into the air to avoid that barrier and keeps going, and will now be stuck in a pretty slow elevator. Well, again, Dalory's stuck in a pretty slow cutscene. Endgame likes to make us wait a lot.
Yeah, especially the late game. You would kind of think that with all these skills and all the health and energy, we would just get faster. No. Game says no and just throws all the cutscenes our way. But Dalory now getting back into the action, gonna start the escape. I am a bit confused about those health and energy pointers, but I think that's just a visual bug. We'll
Yeah,
see
you're
by the-
right. After having beaten Polak and Mora and Bauer's Escape, you get, again, a health and energy after each one. But even if Dalory didn't manage to get those somehow, they almost certainly can still finish the game. Because, again, experienced runners like these two are just able to fly through these late game areas, not taking any of the damage that would almost certainly kill them at this low of health with Overcharge still equipped.
Yeah. And on the left side, we get Launch. The skill of Ori and the Will of the Wisps that you get right at the end for the last dungeon. It's basically designed around this skill where you can just bash pretty much, but without having any enemy or projectile to bash off of. Ooh, Mawe takes a bit too many hits here off of the lasers and needs to try again. Uses those patch 3 launch swaps. So basically, if you start a launch and you unequip launch directly after you use it, you can maintain that momentum for a bit longer, allowing a lot of speed, as you just saw.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that that happened in patch 3, but not patch 2. So it's an introduced bug that Dalory won't be using as they are playing on patch 2. Another thing that they won't be doing is the patience skip. They will be walking forward into the Sire cutscene. Again, this wastes a little bit of time, but you don't have to wait, which is boring, and you do get a little bit more health and energy, which can be helpful in the Willow Tree, which we see Mawe entering right now.
I'm not sure if holding left and watching a cutscene is that much more riveting than just
Okay,
standing
that's
still.
fair.
But as you mentioned, we'll get that extra health and energy as Mawe is starting the Willow, and as an update for the escape, we had a difference of 13 seconds between the runners. Dalory is currently 13 seconds ahead in terms of time compared to Mawe, so it all comes down to execution in the final dungeon.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing that both of these runners, despite playing on different methods with different routes, are just this close to each other. And it's so hard to tell just from watching because we are seeing the real time instead of the in-game time. But we will, as soon as both runs are over, get you their official in-game times, and that will determine the winner of the race. Could be either of them at this point. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is so close, honestly. Great to see. And always enjoy to watch it. Also, both just with excellent execution. Almost no mistakes, only no deaths on both sides. As Mawe is gonna attempt Quidditch, which is a trick that is yet again a bit harder on controller because you can't separate where you bash to and where you walk to, but gets it no problem.
Yeah, first try Quidditch. Just beautiful gameplay here from Mawe and from Dalory. Hopefully we'll see the same kind of Quidditch strats, just to skip having to redirect another different elemental ball from a very far off point in the room.
Yeah,
As-
it is intended to redirect shots. It's not intended to redirect that specific shot. Mawe now with more hearts done. Wow, this is heart number 4, and I haven't looked barely started it. So great execution here. Hopefully Dalory can follow it up. It's just always kind of sad if the lead gets lost in the final section.
Yeah. And in terms of that lead, at launch we do have a 15-second lead for Dalory. So they do have some time to lose. Might lose a couple of seconds getting hit by those lasers a little bit. And also to note, playing on patch 2, they don't have some of the extra launch glitches like launch swaps to play with. So that might give Mawe a couple seconds more back, meaning this race is so close. Oh my god, 2 kill.
Yeah, I'm just honestly mesmerized by Mawe's hearts right now. They are so smoothly, no problem whatsoever. I haven't seen a single death in Willow yet, I think. The only death, of course, was in front of Willow. similar to Dalory. Dalory having a bit more trouble getting redirected in the wrong way and taking a death here. Oh no, we'll have to start this hard. Back up.
I think you caster cursed it there a little bit. Oh no.
Potentially.
But Dalory does manage to make it up to the top, skips the boulder, second try. Meanwhile, Mawe is doing something that I would not consider fighting a boss. But the game does, so we fight, quote unquote, this boss. Oh, actually having, triggered an attack that we don't usually see, but makes it through anyways.
Gets it though. Dalory having a bit more trouble in Willow, but also done with the first heart. Gonna go towards the other. Oh no. Mid-air sentry to the rescue. Okay, gonna decide to back up. I think Mawe is catching up here in terms of time.
Yeah, while Dalory didn't take a death because of that nice save, that is still a little bit of time, and every second counts, especially, again, in this race where they are seconds apart from each other coming into the late game. So Mawe is now on 1 heart left, and Dalory is on, I stopped counting, 6? 6 hearts left after taking out this one, I believe.
Yes. This is heart number 2 for him. There's a total of 8 hearts, so 6 are left. And Mawe is gonna try to go for some skips here. Skipping some cycles. Gets this one very nicely. Let's see if he can get the launch through the wheel. Doesn't quite get the super fast cycle here, but that is extremely tight, so is gonna wait for it. And absolutely no problem. That is the last heart. And Mawe can go towards the final fight. Let's see Quidditch on the Dalory's side. Gonna redirect it once, redirect it twice, redirect it a third time. Easily done.
2 perfect games of Quidditch. Honestly, both these renders are just making the Willow look like a joke, despite it being the final area of the game. And Mawe is already ready to fight the final boss. We might see... No, we're not going to see a little bit of a high five here. Oh well. But we will see Mawe use those launch swaps to just rocket on up to the Shriek fight. Also using them to skip a little bit of a slow walk, as it is time to start the final boss of Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Ooh, and Dalory taking another death, and Mawe just decimating Shriek's health by here. This first phase is fairly predictable, the same patterns every single time, so you can just hit her, you know what to do, and we'll hopefully get through to phase 2. Yes, done now. Gonna heal up. Oh, gets interrupted by the cutscene. That is unfortunate. So we'll have to heal again. And uses the same tech as for the downswim, where you jump and regen at the same frame to be able to move a bit while regenerating. So is in phase 2, just gonna try to go through here quickly with some of the launch swaps. Wow, you don't even see the menu when he's doing them.
Yeah, and again, this is also tech that Mawe has access to in patch 3 that Dalory won't when they reach this point, because they're in patch 2. So that could be, those perfect launch swaps could save a couple seconds, making all the difference as Mawe is making it into phase 3 right now. This phase has quite a bit of variance depending on which pattern Shriek gives you. Some of them, like this, you can just bully Shriek the entire time and it's great. Some of them, like this, you only get one hit as Shriek swoops by. And that's it. You just have to dodge and hope Shriek gives you an attack that's worthwhile next time. And this is the worst one of all, where Shriek just kind of hangs back, doesn't do much. Can't attack her. It's great.
It did seem kind of as if Shriek was helping you explain her. You were gonna start, and then she just did all the perfect things. Dalory taking some more unfortunate deaths here. Maybe it's the nerfs showing, I'm not sure. I don't think either runner is watching the opponent. But approaching the end of the run, maybe you feel like you had a pretty good run and feel like you could win. Then nerfs are definitely something to take into account. Is gonna do this boss and is having a bit of an easier time, I would say, than Mawe did. Not gonna run into energy troubles, not gonna run into any weird phases. Just done. And as we talk about phases, Mawe is in the final phase of the fight. Just needs to avoid some swoops here and then get some final damage in to the boss.
Time is coming up on the final hit as well, so Hold your breath. Oh, is a little bit out of... There we go, time. Oh.
GG. So that's a 106.25. So that leaves 4 minutes and 10 seconds roughly for Dalory to finish out. As mentioned, this is a in-game time race. So Dalory still hasn't lost.
Yep.
It's still up for grabs, this win. He just needs to execute these last hearts pretty damn well because Mawe just did a great job here.
Yeah, we do see from the race time that Mawa's real time was 108.19. Again, that actually doesn't count. It is the in-game time that we use to measure the tournament. But that means that, yeah, Dalory is running out of both real and in-game time now to catch up if they want to win this race and progress further in the tournament.
Yeah. And just as looking forward, the winner of this match is gonna face Ryan in the next phase. Our number 2 seed of the tournament, so I'm not sure if winning this game is even any good, but of course our runners want to win here. Dalory having a bit more trouble. This Willow Knot didn't treat him very great, but is making his way through, almost ready to start Trick. I have to admit I have no idea what the average time on Trick is. So I don't know if this is a good time or not. We will potentially have a bit of a comparison. Mawe started Shriek at 103.46. Dalory is starting it at 103.44. So wow, 2 seconds of difference. This literally comes down to execution in the final fight.
And a reminder that Dalory does not have access to some of those amazing launch swaps that Mawe did. So those about 2 seconds that Dalory has starting the fight probably are going to go because he can't do that trick. So it is basically dead even at this point, and it's all up to what pattern Shriek might give in that third phase. My goodness, this is close.
Yeah, such a close race. I do believe if there isn't anything terrible happening to Dalory, this might be our closest race yet. So hopefully I didn't cast a curse him. Hopefully it's all going well, as he is approaching this third phase here after the escape. He's gonna get this energy back, heal up a bit. A swoop here, which isn't too terrible. As you mentioned, the attack you really don't want to see is the background attack. Here in this phase can attack it as well. Wow, this is looking like some good RNG so far. Yes, getting another great phase here. Should be able to get quite some damage in. So just needs to be careful now not to take a death and to get some good phases. This isn't quite it.
Yeah, you can get a little bit of damage off in swoops, but not like bow damage, which is what we want to see. So swoop are over, and the next attack is the laser. That hopefully will be enough. Dalory goes, ooh, takes a laser hit. It's fine, has enough health, and oh, there we go. That is the next phase. We'll take an intentional death to refill health and energy, and from there, we'll again refill more energy, go into the safety spot, and now just has to finish off phase 4. Oh my god, I can't breathe. This is too close.
He needs to finish it within the first section. If he needs to do more swoops, this is definitely over. I'm not sure how the timing is for only one swoop section. So we'll have to see how this turns out. Wow, needs to... Oh! Okay, just bashing, so didn't take any damage during that swoop. Okay, now into finishing this fight. Oh, did not quite get all the shots in you can, but it is enough. GG, that is the victory.
Oh my goodness. That is 8 seconds. 8 seconds of difference between these two runners. That is incredible to see. I am just flabbergasted by how well both of our runners performed to begin this close to each other.
Wow, this was a banger. I don't know what to say. I'm out of words. Just GG to both of them. Dang.
Yeah, but also GG especially to Dalory, who does get that 8-second lead and therefore is the winner of our race, and we'll be moving on in the bracket to face Ryan, our number 2 seed. So, despite how well he played here, he's still got a lot of challenge ahead to continue on in the bracket. I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely. Whew, boy.
Yeah, we'll have to see when those two runners schedule their match. And dang, I can't wait to see that. Okay, we do have confirmation that we will get both of them for an interview, so we can ask them questions, but oh.
Hello.
Yeah, that's great then. GG to both of you.
Yeah, GG's. Holy crap.
Thank you.
Dang, okay.
Good race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just open with how did you two feel about your Willow? Maybe starting with you, Mawe.
Willow was okay. I think it was good enough. Let's say that.
Okay, good enough. This was an insane Willow. I didn't see any mistakes, but
I needed to heal too much. That's my main issue.
okay. And Dalory, on your side?
I would say my Willow was, I was a little shaky going in, especially after messing up a couple things right before getting into the actual Willow's heart. But once I messed up one thing in Willow's and I kind of made a save, I kind of like reassured myself that I could just, I could get it done and, and not to, worry about mistakes really. And it doesn't need to be a perfect Willow's. So I just focused on that and just tried my best. So I thought it did all right. There was one part where I died. I think it was like the 4th or 5th heart. It was kind of funny death.
Yeah, you died a bit in Willow. I don't remember that death specifically, but yeah, GG to you for finishing first.
I finished
So,
first.
Yes,
you
you
did.
finished
time?
first
Yeah.
by 8 seconds.
8 seconds?
8 seconds,
Yes.
Oh my
Um,
god.
So, actually, I want to ask you both about that. I believe neither of you were watching each other's streams. So, what were you feeling about your own pace? Did you think that you guys were you're doing well, that you'd be ahead, or were you just trying to play catch up and keep the run steady as much as possible? Let's go Mawe first.
And I didn't know anything about my run because I only had live split with in-game time open, so I wasn't able to compare it to anything. That was my main issue. I didn't know if I was fast or slow. It was so nerve-wracking the whole time.
And then, Dalory, you?
I was in the same as Mawa's boat. I also didn't have anything but live split showing. So I couldn't really see the other perspective. But once I messed up the door skip for a while, I kind of just told myself that I would probably be playing catch up, and that I think that kind of gave me kind of just a boost to go all out and just do some crazy stuff that I maybe wouldn't do in like a recorded run or something like that. So
Yeah, and that is a perfect segue to my next question. So Mawe, while we were still having some technical issues on the timer side, we were seeing you practicing some early game stuff. Were you happy with your early game and getting through all these major tricks without any problem?
Doing Keystone Jump the first attempt, I shouted in my room.
Fair enough.
I thought nothing can go wrong past that. So yeah, I was pleased with my early game. I mean, I also picked up Sticky just to be sure, so I don't have troubles with door skip at all. So yeah, so door skip wasn't an issue this race.
Yeah, you absolutely obliterated that. Tuchel, do you have any extra questions? Otherwise, I have one last one.
Well, not at the moment, no.
Okay, I do want to ask Dalory, you are heading on in the bracket. Your next opponent is Ryan. What do you think about that matchup, and how are you feeling just heading on to that
I'm
next
biting my
phase?
fingernails right now as we speak. Ryan, obviously, as we all know, spends all day trying to find the craziest things in this game. So I'm really surprised to. Obviously, I'm gonna go watch me and Mave's perspective about our race, but I'm super excited to just run against Ryan and see what that looks like side by side. So I'm like more than excited to race against him. That's the only emotion. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm super excited that we get to race against each other.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I wish you the absolute best of luck in that next race.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
And
that is all we have for today. But do not worry, this is not the end of MQO Tournament. During this weekend, we had one match earlier today, we had this match now, and we will have 2 more matches tomorrow. And they are gonna be back-to-back action. We first have the Dojo versus Skalfeld at 5 p.m. UTC here on this very channel. That is the first match of the second round of the brackets. And after that, we have yours truly, Turtle, racing against Bobies right after. So don't miss it. Don't mark it in your calendar. And yeah, we will see you there. Thank you, everyone who was involved in this broadcast. We had Appletree on the restream. We had Turtle, of course, with the commentary by my side. We had the Doja helping us out with stats, kind of keeping track on the timer as best as possible. And of course, thank you again, Dalory and Mawe, for this absolute banger of a race. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you tomorrow.
GG's. Thanks, everybody.